weekend last week. It was a big Hellraiser show at York Hall. Mickey, tell us what you made of it.
It was a big weekend. We had, I think, some like 18 fights at York Hall. The second in our series of about 10 shows we're doing there this year. It was a good show. It was a really good show. We had some brilliant fights. The pick of the fights probably Ramesh Amadi against Georgie Georgiev on the undercard. I think it was like 4 or 5 knockdowns, both of them going at least twice to the floor. A whole packed out York Hall on its feet, screaming. It was a good show, and that fight really epitomised everything that we love about York Hall. You know, the experience that we feel when we go there. That was a high point. The low point for me, by far, was the decision in the Asinia Byfield versus Arthur Hermann fight. It was a big fight. Look, we had 2 guys that were on their way up fighting each other. You know you're always going to get a good run for your money when you put a fight like that on. The fight was built up in the week before. We did a lot of interviews, a lot of press coverage was actually given to it. The fight itself was a very good fight. The guys, their motivation, I could see, was so high. I knew 100% this is a really good fight. You know, I know this is going to be right up there. Fight was very good. I was just really disappointed that he lost it. That's normal. Whether it was, fairly or unfairly, I would obviously be disappointed because I manage a senior and I'm emotionally involved in the boxers that I manage. That's why I do it. And for him to come that close and to be told that he'd lost, I had him ahead. No question about it. I had him ahead. The referee, Lee Cook, his name is. My first memory of him since he disappeared for a while. He came back. He boxed a boxer that I managed, Danny Donchev, who was hit with a blatant low punch, which really knocked the stuffing out. And they just put him on the floor, but he didn't because it counted as a knockdown, not as a low punch. And I just think, well, if the referee can't see it wasn't like borderline, it was really low. Donchev went down and complained bitterly, understandably, because he hit low.
Yeah.
Then that came and went, but then on this occasion, throughout the fight, there were transgressions from both sides. Asinia wasn't an angel, they were both there was transgression. The fight was decided by 1 point. They gave it to 1 point to Hermann. As you all see, look on the screen, you can see there's a couple of absolute blatant headbutts, not clashes of heads, headbutts, where Hermann clearly comes inside, dips, and comes up and headbutts him. The referee seemed like he barely noticed it. There is no question about it. Under the rules of boxing, that's at least a point, if not throwing. You don't headbutt people. This is a sport. People go in there. The referee's job is to make sure it's a fair contest. Now, I'm critical sometimes of referees, and I think they've got it wrong. I hold back because I understand. The referee has a weird job and a weird purpose and a weird position. He goes in, but some people in life, they choose to be tax inspectors, they choose to be traffic wardens, they choose to be boxing referees or football referees. You put yourself in that position, you're there to be shot down. There's always someone that's not going to be happy, and this was a close fight. I thought it was a close fight where many of the rounds were quite close, but I gave to Byfield, because Byfield wasn't getting hit. Boxing's about hitting your opponent and not getting hit. And if you watch carefully, you can slow down the footage, you can see it. Hermann gets hit with far more punches and hits Byfield with less. He came forward and was more aggressive, but that's not boxing. Boxing is hitting the opponent and not getting hit. And Byfield's moving his head, riding all the shots, catching on his gloves, and scoring against Hermann. So for me, he should have been ahead on points anyway. But it's subjective, refereeing is down to one person's opinion. There's not 10 referees or 10 judges, there's one. The referee scores the fight for a Southern Area fight. In a fight that close, for a guy to headbutt the other one so blatantly That to me, it wasn't just a clumsy, accidental clash of heads. He actually chose to come in with his head recklessly down, and that's a point. 100% is a point, if not getting thrown out. If that point had been taken off, as I believe it should have been, then that's a draw. Even given a draw, I still would have felt like we got ripped off.
Yeah.
I still would have thought he got it wrong. But I accept referees have their, we could have had 10 referees, 5 would have gone that way, 5 would have gone that way. That's a possibility. But to ignore the head clashes, the transgressions, to me, you've got to start asking questions and think, I'm not saying that he's a terrible referee, he should be struck off. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is someone has to say, look, hang on. This isn't a street fight. Yeah. This is a boxing match, and there has to be reprimands for that kind of thing. I was really, really disappointed, and there was a comment on Facebook that Danny Connor put on there, where he says that after the fight, the referee came into Hermann's changing room where Danny Connor was. He's a boxer. He is trained by the same trainer and manager as Hermann, Alec Wilkie. And the referee apparently said to them, they said to the referee, well, how come you only gave it to us by 1 point? You shouldn't have had it by 1 point anyway, but he said, how come you, and apparently, allegedly, according to Danny Connor's Facebook page, the answer was that the referee said, I had to give it by a point because that way you'll get out of there alive, or something like that. So really, guys, I had you 5 points ahead, but I just put it as 1 point. Well, that's completely against any protocol rules that we've got. That shouldn't happen. And even if that did happen, the referee shouldn't be going into their changing room saying that that's what he'd done. That's absolutely, he must know that boxers are boxers. They've got mouths, they go and talk, they've got opinions, they want to be heard, they want to be seen. They wouldn't be boxers if they didn't. You'd so say that someone like Danny Connor, who spends his life on social media, warbling on about every different aspect of his life, of course he goes and sees that, he goes out and
he's going to tell the world.
Puts it on Facebook and posts that we're tagged in. So that's unacceptable. You can't have that, and someone has to come up with some answers from that. You can't expect to put stuff like that out. And the referee, if he did or he didn't, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm only reading what he said that the referee said on Facebook. But it's very strange, and someone isn't telling the truth, and it all reflects really poorly on the people involved. Look, as a fight, I thought we got it, okay? I thought it was a really good fight. I thought both guys really gave a good account of themselves during the fight. From a boxing point of view, they really surpassed anything that we could ask from them. And actually their trainers as well. In the lead up to the fight, they cooperated, they were good to work with. They prepared their boxers very well, because going for 10 rounds at the pace that they fought, those guys were fit. They were, really, really well prepared. And I have to take my hat off to that. I can't complain one bit. But the aftermath obviously leaves us all with a bit of a sour taste. We're actively working at the moment to make a rematch. I think if one of them had won by a knockout, there wouldn't have been a rematch. But this was
so close.
highly controversial. Inexplicably close to me, because I think if we do a punch count, I'm pretty sure I know who finishes ahead, and that's what boxing is. And they weren't pitter-patter punches. There was a lot of big. Look at their faces. There's no better judge than this. Look at their faces at the end of the fight. Byfield looks like he's been for a walk in the park. Arthur Hermann has got a face like a beach ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you what the story of the fight was. I think look, we sound like we sort of. I mean, the thing is, Hermann's somehow been given that decision, meaning that to have a rematch, and I don't blame his management for saying we want a massive amount of money really for a 7-area fight, but it is what it is. Look, he got given a decision, and if it was the other way around, in honesty, if it was the other way around, it would be me saying, okay, we'll have a rematch, but you got to pay an arm and a leg for it, because if we don't have it, we remain as champion and we can go and earn our money, you know, go and fight.
That's right.
I don't think people will be queuing up to fight Hermann.
Yeah.
He proved himself, you know, everything else aside, even though I thought he lost it, he proved himself to be a real handful. A real handful. And I can't criticise his effort, the input that he made from that point of view. I can't. You know, he really delivered, you know, what he promised to deliver, and he actually held himself very well leading up to the fight. I thought he carried himself with dignity, and you know, I respect that, and you know, that's why I'm making the comment. And I thought, well done, but didn't win the fight. I really thought he lost it. But look, it looks like we're edging closer. It's just for a city who's not a huge ticket seller to generate the finances that's going to be required to have the rematch. We've got to make sure that we can cover it before we make a commitment. Out of respect to Hermann and Alec Wilkie as manager, we have to make sure that if we make a promise to them that we can make good on it. So that's all getting put together right now, and looks like they probably end up boxing again. And I hope that Simeon, I think he'll improve.
Yeah.
He'll learn from having that's his first 10-rounder. He'll learn from having done that, and hopefully they can put a great fight on again. And like I say, I was just really disappointed the referee did not point out and be more forceful, because a referee can't come out of there overly worried about what the crowd think. They have to follow their opinion. I appreciate that.
Rules are the rules.
Yeah, but rules are rules. And when we agree to box, we agree to punch each other within certain limitations. And the headbutts are, for me, were so abundantly blatant and clear.
Yeah.
Certainly Hermann's, I think he does two in one round, and one of them is like, it's not a clash of heads. For me, it looks like he's come in there, you know,
to get the cheap shot.
Yeah, it looked to me like it was premeditated. My instinct at the time was that was not an accident. That was premeditated, and that's why I was so angry that the referee seemed to not see it, because he's this close, I'm not there, and I can see it as clear as the day is light. Anyway, look, it is what it is. Let's see. I mean, we're working on the rematch. We're going to try and put something together that the other guys will agree to, and irrespective of my opinion is one person's opinion, and I'm definitely, you know, not a neutral. But I try and remain neutral in matchmaking. I have to, because if you believe too much spiel or press release and stuff like that, it's easy to get your mind clouded.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching boxers box, I try and stay as clear-headed and sort of outside of who I want to win as I can. And I felt that we've done enough. You know, not just enough. I think we've done enough by a little work. But look, they can box again, hopefully, and we can sort of, you know, if they have a good fight, good for everyone, good for boxing.
Yeah.
And the fans, look,
They want it.
rare that you get everybody in the hall waiting behind, cheering every punch for the full 10 minutes.
And then just shouting his name. Or chanting his name.
Yeah. I think out of respect for both of them, the crowd didn't want to leave. You know, they wanted to see to win. So.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it for this week. Hi guys, I'm Mickey Elliott. If you want to get the latest news and views of everything that's going on in the Hellraiser boxing world, and you want to get the notifications before anyone else, please give us a thumbs up on all the videos and subscribe. That way you get it first. Thanks very much.